Welcome back to the Awakening Health Show. My name is Meridian Grace. I'm very interested in lifestyle and have been working very deeply with diet for many, many, many years now. 40 plus. And I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to be here with you, to share with you, and to bring to you some of the most exciting information that's happened for me over the last 5 years since I was last with you. So we're going to continue on with our discussion that we began with our last talk about cellular detox and the importance of healthy cells. So I would imagine if you are watching this show that many of you have already done cleanses, perhaps 10-day cleanses of some sort, a colon cleanse, a juice fast, a lemon, maple syrup, cayenne pepper drink fast, doing liver gallbladder flushes, where you were drinking apple juice or taking malic acid and a little magnesium, and eventually drinking a whole bunch of olive oil with some lemon juice to cause the release of gallstones. There are many cleanses out there, but they've never been able to go as deep as clearing the cell. Because of the levels of toxicity that we have today, we need to figure out how to cleanse our cells if we really want to be well. Otherwise, it'll be just like doing house cleaning. We have to do it all the time, and we're still having to clean up more and more and more. Taking more and more detoxifying supplements, taking more and more and more cleansing things. And instead, we're not really upregulating the overall health of our body. We're just doing our best to maintain. If we can begin to understand the way we were made and to honor the wisdom of that making by the world that we have, by what nature gave us, by the wisdom that's in our bodies, and listening to the wisdom rather than fighting with it, rather than trying to change what's happening, rather than using poisonous drugs to shift what's going on. Why not instead sit down and really ask, why is this happening to me? Why would my body, with all of its wisdom, present me with what I have today? So many women that I know in particular, and I've been one of them and still have a degree of this going on, I would love to lose a little bit more weight and understand why my body's holding on to so much weight and why it gives me such a hard time with releasing any excess fat. And I'm beginning to understand that through my own family history with lots of diabetes, that there may be issues going on with my blood sugar, and that the years and years and years that I spent thinking I was doing a good thing for myself, the years that I spent being a raw food vegan, the years I spent eating lots and lots of fruit, the years I spent eating 6 to 8 times a day, the years I spent walking by the kitchen and thinking I was grabbing something healthy like a handful of nuts and seeds and eating all day, might have been something that wasn't the right thing for my body. And it's now trying to show me that as I get older, if I really want to have a highly functioning body at 64 and into the future, that there's some changes I need to make. I need to understand what I need to do. So I've made some enormous changes in my diet as I've come to discover more about the importance of healthy fats as my primary source of fuel, so that my liver can break down those fats into something called ketone bodies. And another time, we'll go into really talking in depth about the ketogenic diet. But for now, those of you who are curious, I invite you to go online and look up the work of Dr. Dominique D'Agostino and the ketogenic diet. If you have children with autism, or children with, in particular, epilepsy, or children with ADD or ADHD, please go to the Charlie Foundation and take a look at the brilliant work that they've done on the ketogenic diet and the importance of healthy fats. And when I say healthy fats, I mean saturated fats, the kind of fats we've been told not to eat. I mean things like grass-fed butter. I'm not talking about commercial butter, because grass-fed butter has vitamin A, D, and K in it, absolutely necessary for the creation of healthy new cells. When your body releases the old dead ones, it needs to create new ones, and that A, D, and K is really important. Cod liver oil, but the real thing, fermented cod liver oil, is another one of those fabulous sources of vitamin A, D, and K. Egg yolks from pasture-raised eggs, chickens that are able to be free and run around in the sunlight and therefore get the nourishment that they need from the sun and from healthy grass, not from grass that's been fertilized with horrible chemicals. So we want to have egg yolks in particular. In fact, newborn babies that for some reason are not able to nurse, making a blend for them with egg yolk and a little bit of liver that's been ground and made into a drink is what our ancient ancestors would use and now is still incredibly beneficial. And the Weston A. Price Foundation has some wonderful recipes of what to feed newborn babies, their first foods. We never want to be giving them sugars and grains, which are just incredibly toxic to the human digestive system and the body. We want to be feeding our babies the really nourishing vitamin A, D, and K that we can get from these sorts of substances like the healthy egg yolks and liver from grass-fed animals. We also want to be looking at just how it is that we can bring our bodies back into harmony with all of the different aspects of nature, like spending time outside in the sun without slathering things on our skin that will prevent us from getting the healthy, healing sun rays. We don't want to get sunburned, but we want to have time enough out in the sun that we can get the vitamin D and the frequencies from the earth by walking barefoot on the earth. And a great way to spend time with our babies is out on the grass itself, maybe with a blanket on the ground, so that we're getting the healing frequencies from the earth. There's so much that we have to learn from looking at the ways that our ancestors and ancient cultures raised our children and had our children. So I'm going to just quickly share a tiny bit about my personal birth experience with y'all, because I know it's so different than the way many people give birth today. But I was 22 years old, and I went to Hawaii, and I gave birth to my son under a banana tree with friends around me. And after my son was born, I did not cut the cord. I carried his placenta with me, and he was connected to the cord until the cord came off of its own, so that he could get all the nourishment that was available from that placenta. This is an ancient practice. It's known as a lotus birth that supports the appreciation of our natural substances that our bodies were designed to give to our children and to our prodigy. And when the child is in the womb, when their eyes are looking out, their eyes are protected by our skin. And the colors that they would see are more like a violet color. And so from the work of Rudolf Steiner and something called anthroposophy that he developed, he suggested that we use colors of silk, reds and purples, and each day of the child's life to have these veils of silk over the place where they were. So I carried him on my body the whole time. And so I had these layers of silk, and each day I would remove one so that little by little his eyes would be accustomed to the light. instead of having bright, intense lights meeting your newborn when it's first born. And of course, Shiloh went right from my body onto my body, where he was able to nurse and then stayed on my body until pretty much all the time he slept in my bed with me, and he would just nurse when he felt like it. And I carried him with me until he was able to start crawling and playing on the floor himself and lift up his head and do all the rest. And he nursed for quite a long time. In fact, it's recommended that we nurse our babies, if we can, for 3 years to give them the full nourishment that they need, and that we wait for 3 years before we have another child in order to rebuild and heal our own bodies so that we have the strength to give a healthy new form, all the energy that that baby needs for our babies to come into the world strong and healthy. And of course, we want to do our best to reduce the toxins that are in our world themselves. So I have a little PowerPoint that I think you'll be seeing right now with me. It's called "What's the Number One Cause of Toxins?" There are so many today, but the bottom line is our foods have been hybridized for the most part, and they have been given, there's many different forms of toxins that have happened to our foods. They've been hybridized in order to give them a longer shelf life instead of more nutrition. It seems like the major things that our corporations have been interested in is shelf life of food rather than nutritional value. So one of the best gifts you can give to your children is to have a garden, to grow it naturally, and to give them the opportunity to experience the great joy of picking their own food. Our homes are filled with toxins these days. People are using things that they think will make their house smell better, but they're very toxic. These different things, the different household aerosol sprays, but things that you put on your electrical outlets that produce a scent. Many of the scents that people use in their bathrooms are incredibly toxic. They're very harmful to breathe in, to our lungs, to our brains, and we're using toxic forms of paint. Our carpeting has formaldehyde in it, so it's a really good idea, if you can afford to tile or get wooden floors for your houses so that you don't have these horrible formaldehydes that are carcinogenic and harmful to be breathing. Most of our furniture has fire retardants, another carcinogen that is just prolific throughout our homes, and many of the types of wood that we're using also have formaldehyde in them. So instead of just buying natural wood to make our furniture, there's plywood and different types of wood that have layers of glue and formaldehyde in them that are very toxic to us. And even the outdoor patio types of wood has protection from the rainwater, and that is loaded with arsenic. So our world has become so toxic. And the type of building that we're doing with wallboard and all of that is holding mold and moisture. That's incredibly toxic to us. So many of us are carrying these intense forms of toxins. And all of these toxins are ending up in our cells and ending up in our bodies, but they're creating the inflammation around the cell that's creating all types of diseases and problems for us to deal with. When I was a young girl, I was born in Ohio, and we had lead pipes. So our water was filled with lead. Our paint was lead paint. and there was lead in our gasoline. And the recent studies have shown that lead continues for 4 generations, as do many of the heavy metals and many of the toxins, even the toxins in plastics from BPA. There have been studies that have shown this with rats, where they had them drinking water that had BPA in it, and they'd have 2 sets of rats, some drinking BPA water and the others not, and they ate the exact same rat chow. And by the time that the rats from this generation that were drinking the BPA became adolescents, they all became obese, not the ones who were not drinking the BPA water. And to their great surprise, this propensity to be obese at puberty continued for 4 generations for the rats that were having the BPA water. And they found that by doing some of the things I'm going to be talking to you about over the next few sessions, by actually cleansing and clearing and doing detox of the cell, they were able to stop this. And once the cells were cleansed, this propensity, this genetic anomaly no longer continued. Now, there's a lot of work being done right now with genes, and we're even doing some of it in our practice. We're taking 23andMes, and we're looking at those in relationship to people's symptoms to see what we call our epigenetic issues for us. Our genes will turn on when we don't have the protection from our lifestyle. So almost all of us have many, many genes for things that are not pleasant to think about, some quite awful. But if we live a healthy lifestyle, if we eat the right foods, and if we can find a place of peace and happiness in our hearts and love in our families, oftentimes these genes will not turn on because we don't have the toxins and the challenges that would make them turn on. So a very big part of keeping ourselves healthy is understanding this thing called epigenetics. So by living a healthy lifestyle and doing the best we can to have love and joy in our lives, we can help to prevent a lot of these genetic anomalies from showing up. But they do show up when we're under a tremendous amount of stress and we're receiving toxins on the physical, mental, and emotional levels. One area that most women don't have a clue about is from all of the different skin care and hair care and body care things that we're putting on our bodies. Red lipstick even has a lot of lead in it, if it's not a natural lipstick. A lot of things we're thinking we're using to make our skin beautiful or to get rid of blemishes or cover up our skin is loaded in so many carcinogens, it's scary to think of. There's an organization called EWG that you can look up online, and they can tell you the toxic substances in every skincare, home cleaning products, and things like that you might be using. And I encourage you to go through your home and go through your bathrooms and get rid of these sorts of things and replace them with healthy ones. And the healthy ones are so much less expensive as well. Almost everything we need to clean our houses, we can accomplish with distilled vinegar, borax, baking soda. It's amazing how, and vinegar. I mean, just simple things like that. We can use, and water. Just water will clean a lot of things. But we can find really healthy products. And there are companies out there who are producing really healthy products as well. And we can go online to find out if what we're buying is going to be increasing toxicity and destruction of these beautiful, precious bodies, or if they'll be supporting us. And I encourage you all to start finding out these things. It's really worth our time to look into it. So, next, I'd like to just mention to you that, by the way, the EWG, the name for that organization is the Environmental Working Group. And they've been involved with so many studies to help us to understand what toxins are causing problems in our world. They're continuing studies. And for those of you that are interested in doing some contributions, you might want to look into the EWG, because they're constantly performing studies that have to do with helping us to understand what it takes to create a healthy environment for ourselves and our family. But one of the amazing studies that they did was they looked at the cord blood of newborns, thousands of them actually, and they found that they began life exposed to as many as 287 of the 413 toxic chemicals that were in a study. And there was an average of 200 toxins per baby that they found. And of those, 180 chemicals were known to cause cancer. And this is before we even get out into the world and have a chance to get our own exposures. These are exposures that were carried to the infant from the mother, from the cord blood. So cancer rates in children have risen 67.1% since 1950. And I think this has a great contribution to that problem, that we're being exposed to so many chemicals. And according to the Columbia University, the School of Public Health, 95% of cancer is caused by our diet and our environment. Now, those are scary numbers, but there's something very positive in that as well. And the positive thing is, it's our diet. Who's going to be putting the food in our mouths but us? If we get educated, it's something that we can do something about. When it comes to our environment, that's something that you and I can do something about. We can learn about how to clean things up. We can learn about how to protect ourselves from mold. We can learn about how to reduce the EMFs in our world, which we'll be talking about too. There have been so many studies, particularly in Germany. Probably 25 years ago I started hearing about them. Because in Germany they were very, very interested in looking at cell phones when cell phones first started, and what kind of effect they might have on us, and cell phone towers, and electrical towers, and even televisions before, when they had the big tubes in them and things, the levels of toxicity, and microwaves. All of these things that are part of most of our lives are contributing tremendously to the EMF load that we have. And these EMFs are affecting our brain function. They're affecting the levels of cancer, particularly brain cancer. They're showing the same is true with our hearing loss and visual loss and things of that nature. That being exposed to EMFs can cause all kinds of mood behavior issues. They can really make things much worse for children who have any type of learning disabilities and seizures. There was one child in my practice, her mother was telling me that if she were to walk by a smart meter, she would have an immediate seizure. And she had to be at least 30 feet away from a smart meter. And they had to have their smart meters removed at their home, because if her child came anywhere near the walls, she would seizure from the smart meter effects. And we'll be talking about smart meters at some time during our show as well, but just know that in Austin, you can opt out, and you can definitely find out lots of information about smart meters on the internet as well. But I believe it's every 16 seconds there's a release of electricity and EMFs through the Wi-Fi that they're using in the smart meter to track what's going on in our homes. And there are people that are so sensitive that they will actually flinch every time that release is happening in their homes. Now, just because you and I are not that sensitive doesn't mean that we're not being affected by these things. We are being affected by them. We are being affected by our cell phones. So please, give your bodies a rest when you're sleeping. Take those cell phones, put them in another room, or turn them off completely and put them in another room. If you can, take all of the electrical things out of your bedroom. It's best to sleep like a monk, or at least unplug them. Turn anything that has a green or blue or purple light off completely or unplug it. And if you're able to, unplug your Wi-Fi when you're sleeping so that you're not going to be affected by these things, and give your nervous system a break so that you can wake up fresh in the morning and have a day ahead of you without having yourself be exposed all night long to these harmful effects of the EMFs from these different devices. The other thing that's really important to get a good quality sleep so that you'll have the energy to face the day is to use blackout shades. A blackout shade will allow you to sleep in absolute dark so that your body can release the melatonin that it needs. We have pineal glands that are very sensitive to light, and we no longer are getting up with the sun and going to sleep with the sun. We're staying up into many hours of the night with light bulbs, and that's another very unnatural thing for human beings to be doing. So if we are going to do that, let's at least give ourselves a chance to sleep in the dark without any electrical impedance from all these different devices that we now can't live without. and let ourselves get a deep, restful sleep so that we can begin a new and healthy day. So I've covered a few things that you can start to do in your homes in this episode. And in our next episode, we're going to start to look at what we can do to support the health of our cells themselves, an actual program. It's a 4-month program called True Cellular Detox that we can do to help clear the toxins out of our bodies, clear the toxins out of our cells, clear the toxins out of our brains, the most important part of all, and what that takes, given that we've gone so far away from the natural way of living in this day and age. So thank you for joining us for this episode, and I invite you to come back and join us again. And also, please feel free to call us at the office, and this is also my textable number, 512-698-7009, and to check out our website, awakeninghealth.com. Thank you for joining us. Bye.